Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope you're off to a wonderful start to your week. I found this chart. This is a chart that I found to be quite interesting. It's actually really funny. So, bulls and bears closing out week with indecisiveness as retail gets fooled with ranging Bitcoin prices. So, what do we see from here? You can see this is a measure somehow of social media posts calling for Bitcoin to go to different dollar amounts. And what do? You bet against that. Okay, so April 7th to 9th, massive calls for 30 to 70K Bitcoin, ideal long-term buy time. And then May 21st through 22nd, massive calls for $120 to $160,000 Bitcoin, ideal short-term sell time. And now I am actually a little bit guilty here, because a lot of you know my bear market bottom target of around $30,000 for Bitcoin, and actually saying that it could go lower than that. Now, that is with an idea that we are going to enter some kind of day of reckoning when it comes to just the economy, the bond market, an implosion in the bond market. And so I have not deviated from that yet, but I'm sure that I was largely talking about that around April 7th to April 9th. And then May 21st to 22nd, was I talking about $120,000 to $160,000 Bitcoin? I was talking about it in a sense of like I was quoting other people and pulling out those M2 money supply charts, overlaid with Bitcoin, which I'm guessing by now has deviated. I'm not sure. I'm not going to absolutely say, yes, absolutely, we have deviated from that, but it does seem like we're deviating from it now. So what do we have here? We have from sentiment. One of the top swing trading indicators in crypto has nothing to do with support and resistance level. Counter trading retail's price calls has continually made traders profit. On the chart below, total mentions of Bitcoin price predictions at 30K to 70K to 120 to 160. We've already seen that. In the past 3 months shown, Bitcoin has not had a market value below 70K, and it certainly hasn't had a market value above 120K. This is why this chart is so effective. It reflects the predictions of lower versus higher prices across X, Reddit, Telegram, 4chan, Bitcoin Talk, and Farcaster. And since markets move the opposite direction of the way the conversations of retail are flowing, these calls can be used as an effective counter indicator. The latest clear signal from June 4th to June 6th, when retail was showing clear panic as Bitcoin fell to 101K, but as soon as they started predicting just how low prices could fall, it was a sign that they were selling, whales were accumulating, and you could safely buy for yourself. You want to see more about this, you can get it at app.santiment.net. I did click on the website, I'll be honest with you, and it was kind of confusing. I'll be abundantly clear on that. It was pretty confusing. So anyway, you want to take a look at that, go for it. But that's really cool, really neat. I am definitely going to be paying attention to this from Santiment more. Moving on, we have Alpha Ractal, some kind of long-term perspective here. So this shows the significance of the event when Tesla bought Bitcoin. That was a massive, massive deal. That was a huge deal on February 8th, 2021. I remember waking up that morning, seeing Bitcoin at $38,000, having breakfast, and then seeing after breakfast Bitcoin at $43,000 and having no idea what happened. Tesla bought Bitcoin. And that was a peak. That day was the peak in the number of addresses holding more than 1,000 Bitcoin, and it's just been steadily declining since then. And what was that? I mean, that was such a catalyst for massive profit taking that led us into a distribution of Bitcoin, a 13-week distribution. And so, my goodness, okay, you can see this chart here. Tesla buys 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, February 8th, 2021. That was the peak. And, I think it's a healthy thing that this would go down over time. That's just something interesting, something I found interesting. You can see more on that from Alpha Ractal. Now we have On-Chain College, a couple of tweets here that I am in agreement with when it comes to, what's the worst case scenario for Bitcoin kind of moving forward, guys. We shouldn't panic with Bitcoin where it is right now. I know we got up to 112, now we're down to 10 something, whatever, 98K. Can you picture this? Bitcoin short-term holder cost basis is sitting just under 100K and now at 98K. This is significant because this level tends to be strong support for Bitcoin during bullish periods. For anyone who's been in Bitcoin before this cycle, the idea of 100K support is almost surreal. And so that is the short-term holder basis, and that has provided a decent level of support historically, short-term holder MVRV indicator. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if that's around an area where we bounce. If you watch yesterday's video, I am expecting the C wave of an ABC correction to go below 100K briefly. And that's going to be a scary moment, but we can get through it. Max Price, someone who I really hang on a lot of what he says. IMO, this drop we are in will end up as a spring. We are in another accumulation range, and this is the last phase before blast off, the manipulation shakeout. So you can see a typical Wyckoff accumulation schematic. Now he has accumulation. This is more of a reaccumulation schematic, but it looks pretty much the same. And so liquidity zone, bouncing between the liquidity zones, and then a break below that liquidity zone. The spring at a key trend line there, and then what do? We start to climb higher. The spring is always a scary time. April 7th of this year was a spring. That was the bottom for Bitcoin. Around that time, it got below $75,000, that peak moment of fear where it looked like we were losing all support. And then that's how the market makers manipulate the market. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happened again. Now, in terms of World War III, I keep getting lots and lots of questions about World War III and how much of an effect that's going to have on the market. I hope you understand that, we haven't really seen any effects of World War III taking shape. And when is World War III actually going to be? Is it going to be a month from now? Probably not. A year from now? Most likely not. A decade within the next decade? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe World War III isn't even in our lifetimes, honestly. But that seems to be making the big news. So here we go from Bitcoin Data 21, very bullish account. Let's just be real about that. Markets still don't care about World War III, not even a spike on Google Trends yet. Fade the news, fade the news, fade the news by Bitcoin. So when we see these big spikes in fears on World War III, the last few times that it's happened was November, late November. Did that really do anything to the price of Bitcoin? No. And then in late March, did that really do anything in the price of Bitcoin? At least with Google Trend searches, no. Now we did dump, but that was after Liberation Day. That big panic after Liberation Day when Donald Trump held up those signs. So listen, all right, we still haven't had that big spike in World War III. This Israel-Iran thing isn't really all that much of a thing that I'm paying attention to, significantly at least. So moving on, another post about the war. All right, the war is actually bullish. I have seen this. I have seen places. Now, I don't want to be insensitive. I've seen places where the war, all of this peak fear of war, Bitcoin price actually does pretty well after that. And so whatever we go to at the bottom of the C wave, whether it's not actually going to happen or whether we're just going to pump super hard from here, or whether it is going to happen, whatever the case, listen, there is nothing about this war that scares me out of my crypto. All right. The charts will scare me out of my crypto eventually. And when will I be scared out of my crypto? Most likely at a time when things get really hot. So you can see 2024, Iran, Israel, April 13th, Israel, Iran, April 19th, Bitcoin, 18% minus 18% first 2 weeks, plus 28% next 1.5 months. 2024, same deal. Iran, Israel, October 1st. Israel, Iran, October 26th, minus 10 the first week, plus 62% the next 2 months. And then 2025, here we go, minus 2.5% the first day. Where do we go from here? So maybe a month and a half from now, Bitcoin's price is actually going to be much higher than where it is now. I would not be surprised. So good news for Bitcoin. Bad news for Bitcoin dominance. And guys, yeah, I'm sorry to say I'm a little concerned looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which I'll show you in the next slide. So Bitcoin dominance monthly RSI working on a higher high. This often leads to a big move up. I've been saying for some time, this is potentially disastrous for altcoins. I did take 2 smaller positions in 2 alts. I regret that, blah, blah, blah. Crypto needs that major risk on signal in bullish breakout before the month is over. So can we see that higher high in Bitcoin dominance on the monthly candle? That's interesting. So, not even a bearish divergence on Bitcoin dominance. There's nothing really that we can be all that excited about looking at Bitcoin's dominance right now. And here's my concern is like Bitcoin dominance just will not stop, will not freaking stop. My goodness, man. Can you please stop? Please. But here we are with Bitcoin dominance. It's clearly above the 786 retrace. Now, is that going to remain that way? Is this just going to be a weekly wick or something like that? Maybe, maybe not, but I don't really see signs of this slowing down yet. So I don't know, man. I would love for it to not hit a new cycle top, but it looks like it's heading in that direction. You never know. You never know. Let's move on. We're bullish on Bitcoin eventually, and Ethereum is still looking good. So eventually it should play itself out for altcoins that we would have a movement, but not in love with it right now. On a lighter note, this is a new account that I'm following now. I thought it was pretty funny. Pentagon Pizza Report. So Pentagon Pizza Report, it gives you notifications of the pizza places nearest the Pentagon, and like if there's some big global event like this Iran-Israel conflict, you can see right now that the Domino's closest to the Pentagon is busier than usual. I thought that was hilarious. You can see lots of notifications of different pizza joints near the Pentagon being super busy, abnormally busy. And so what do we make of this? During intense times where people in the Pentagon may need to stay in office after hours, they're probably going to order a bunch of pizza. I thought it was funny. I don't know. Maybe you're not laughing at all, but I think it's funny. But anyway, I'm following. I decided to follow this account. That's a hilarious account. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I know this was a shorter video. I had to keep it shorter for today, but things are fine, guys. Things are fine. Let's ride this out. Let's see where we go from here. But have a great week. I'll see you in another video. Peace.